Wait till it says that 000. And then there we go. What is up, everybody? We are live with Powell Times. It's so good to be here. To all our Powell Times family out there, this is a late night talk. This is a late night chat that we're doing. So we actually have a special guest, and he wanted to do a late night talk. But before we go live and bring out our special guest tonight, we have a roll call that we usually do. So with this roll call, basically just comment where you're watching in from so we could give you a shout out. Give us a little comment of where you're watching in from, and so we could give you guys a what's up, how's it going. So yeah, go ahead and comment on the comment section where you are so we could shout you out. But we got a special guest, and we also got some things that we're gonna be announcing here today. Some really cool things that we're gonna be announcing. So I got this gel. Let's see if what's up, Cheryl Bear Jacko from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So good to have you in the house.
What's up, Tracy, all the way from Jennings? I'm not sure where that is.
Jennings, what's up? We got Grant Gucci from Gainesville, Florida in the house.
And we got Margaret all the way from the California's area. Oh.
Got some more from California. What up, Karen Frisbee? How's it going? We got Kiefer. Or it's not Kiefer. You're from Kiefer, Oklahoma.
Familia
Marino, what's up? Jal, go ahead this one.
All the way from Hobima, Elijah Buffalo. Oh.
King Stewart from Grand Cache. How's it going?
All the way from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Candice Ray Taylor Crooks.
We got Bunny Bug from Duluth, Minnesota, Hillside. What is up? What is up?
Helen Portra from Warm Springs, Oregon. Sorry.
Norma Black, Oklahoma City. So this is a roll call. We're just giving a shout out to all our people who
Mabel
are turning in.
Shingi, all the way from Maple Forest in Wisconsin.
We got the Apache tribe in the house from Arizona. What is up?
Tracy, all the way from Jennings, Louisiana.
Musquecheese now. Yeah, that's right. David, what's up from Fort Worth, Texas, Oklahoma? So good to have you guys in the house.
Gabriel Holloway, all the way from Alibu, Crazy, New Mexico.
We got Vanessa from Hinckley, Minnesota. You guys have an awesome
Gino,
power.
All the way from Tuba City, Arizona.
All right. Alabama in the house. What is up? What is up?
Hokasila, all the way from Texas.
Hoaxilla, Texas. What is up? We got Philly in the house. What's up, Philly? Just saw your live stream. Hello from Calgary. What's up?
What's up? All the way from California, Vernon. What's up?
Hello from Babine Lake. So, guys, just keep commenting where you're from. We got a special guest today, but we also have some housekeeping stuff. In mid-July, we are going to be hosting a men's fancy versus ladies fancy on Powwow Times, but it's actually going to be not an online special. It's going to be a special where we meet up, and it's going to be in Red Deer, Alberta. So if you're a women's fancy dancer or you're a men's fancy dancer, what you want to do is keep looking out on our page, because we're going to have a special, and we have some drums that are going to come out and sing some songs, and we're going to be live streaming it on the Powwow Times page. So you're going to want to tune into that. There's going to be some good prize money available for the dancers. Also, we're going to do our best for the rules and regulations of health. Right now in Alberta, we have a limit of 200 people for outdoor gatherings. So we're going to try to keep this event to 200 people. And also another thing, what was it? We got our museum exhibit coming up in September. So Powwow Times has an exhibit coming up in September, and it's going to be pretty cool. We're going to have a bunch of powwow regalia on display at an exhibit, and basically people could come in and learn about the origins of the powwow dance styles. So yeah, we got a lot of people tuning in. We got a lot of comments coming in from Navajo Nation, San McGregor. where was that? There's one from Nunavut. Hey, I actually been to Nunavut a few years ago, and we danced for the grand opening of the First Nations Bank over there. So it was such an awesome experience to go all the way to Nunavut.
Should we tell them what the webinar coming next?
I don't have a poster. Also, like we're gonna have a webinar coming up with some deadly speakers, and these speakers are gonna be talking about certain subjects of just areas of what their expertise in, and it's for the youth, and we're gonna give away prizes, gift cards for those who are in attendance. So keep on the lookout on our Facebook page for that. So today, guys, we have a really special guest. We've been kind of bouncing back and forth trying to get him on Powwow Times, and he's a dancer, men's traditional dancer extraordinaire. He's a Taekwondo black belt expert fighter, and all around good man. I got to travel with him and got to know him a little bit better, became a brother of mine. So his name is Doug Rain, and he's in the house tonight, and we're gonna bring him out. He's gonna we're gonna have a conversation. You know, he hosts a radio show as well. He has a resume full of a lot of things that he does, digital arts, graphics, all kinds of things like that. And so we're gonna bring out Doug Rain. So everybody, give him a round of applause, a warm welcome. Powwow Times, welcome with some likes, with some shares, with some comments saying, yo, what's up, Doug? And then make them feel at home here. What's up, Doug? How's it going?
Slow. It's going slow, but you know what? It's going.
Slow. Okay. Which is a good thing. It's always good to be going. So how you been doing in these last few? It's a question a lot of people get, you know, how are they dealing with COVID? How are you doing in the last few months of this kind of weird time we're in?
Is that an actual question now? Like you want me to talk? Like what? That seemed like a 5-part question.
Yeah, just talk. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's just break into it, and we'll. Oh, someone said, "Oh my God, Dougie Love with all the hearts."
I've been isolated, but I'm used to isolation. I'm an introvert. May not seem that way, but I am. I'm an introvert. I'm used to just doing my own thing. And listening to your intro, I dance powwow. I dance in the men's traditional category. However, a dancer is not all I am. I am not a dancer. I'm just a dude that likes to dance from time to time when there is time. I don't know what happened. Are you there?
Yeah, we're there. I was just letting you talk, giving you the screen, but I like how you always break things down, and you have a really kind of unique way of thinking about things, and I got to really know that when we were in New Orleans together. We got to spend some time together, and I just kind of want to dig in, and I always thought you had a really unique story, and I want to go back into time and get people to know the Doug Rain story. So if we could go back, if that's okay with you, and kind of let people know, you know, who is Doug Rain. You know, you're more than a dancer. You're this man that's been on a journey, and just the things that you told me makes me like you're a real interesting guy, and you've been through many experiences. So let's start off with that. Let's start off when you were a kid. You know, where did you grow up? Where are you originally from? And how was your childhood? You know, we'll just kind of start vague, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, tell us about, you know, where does the Doug Rain story begin?
I'll start here. Dago Chwabi, Mika Debi. Winimne we chasta chat. Negichi Marju we chasta machat. I'm from the Wabman Lake area, more specifically the Rain family. My late father was Francis Rain. My mom was originally from the Musquechies area. And they fell in love years and years back. And then they had all of us, my brother Donnie, my brother Dallas, me, my sister Dawn, my sister Dion, my younger brother Francis Jr., and years later came my youngest brother Chris. Having said that, I was born into Powwow. I grew up here in the Paul First Nation. That's the reservation bordering the Wabman Lake. Our lake, in my language, we refer to as Wihnimne. Like it's a mirror lake, looking glass lake, or something like that. It's the best I could come up with at the moment. So if you have any questions, just shoot me the questions. I will try my best to answer the questions.
For sure.
Answer them honestly.
So you were born into the powwow world. Did you?
Alberta. I was born in Edmonton, Alberta. More specifically, at Charles Cancel General Hospital. I'm not going to tell you my birthday, though. That's a secret.
That's awesome. So did you start dancing right off the hop when you started to walk? Tiny tot dancer? Did you just? How did that start?
Story shared with me from my brother Donnie. We were all initiated way back, and I'm not sure how old I was, but Mumford, my brother Donnie, I call him Mumford, was telling me that I was just really small. He's not even sure, but we were initiated, and the men that did the initiating, he could only remember two names. That was Hanson Bearspaw from Morley and the late Peter Burnstick from Paul First Nation. And that was a long time ago.
Interesting. And did you always dance men's traditional?
No, I was once a child.
Did you always dance the traditional category of male?
You know what? I come from a time where there wasn't any very known categories. People just danced. There were male dancers and there were female dancers. I come from a time where I remember there wasn't even drum group names. It was just drum number 1, drum number 2, drum number 3, and drum number 4. Back then, it was really something to, I've watched powwows evolve from going from very little categories to all of a sudden I was a fancy dancer. Yeah, I was a fancy dancer one time.
Nice.
We first got our very first glimpse of chicken dance when late Alex Skelplock come to Paul Band Powwow. We became chicken dancers for a little stint. But later on, I was just a complainer. I was a complainer. I was a whiner. I wasn't a very good athlete. I couldn't play ball. I couldn't play hockey. I couldn't play basketball or volleyball. I couldn't throw a ball. I couldn't run. I couldn't skate. I couldn't shoot a puck. I just wasn't athletic. So being a fancy dancer, I just really didn't feel it. It wasn't my groove. And when back then, witnessing late Alex Skelplock, he was also a traditional dancer. I really liked his style. He kind of had a real straight up proud style. And I was really drawn to that. And, being a kid with big ears, and I've always paid attention whenever they did all the talking, the MCs, and they were talking about how Alex Skelplock's style of dance told a story. I wanted to do that too. I wanted to tell stories of hunting because I grew up hunting with my brothers and my late father. That's the lifestyle we came from. I wanted to be able to imitate what it was like for old school men to be on a hunt. That's how I first started to experience powwows, and that's when I switched my style from fancy to traditional. And hey, back then, we weren't allowed to wear bustles. We weren't even allowed to wear a roach. I wore one feather, and it was in the back of my head. And we dressed like we were Southern cloth dancers, and that was pretty common. That's how much I've watched powwows evolve since I was just a youngin'.
Was there a reason why you couldn't wear the roach and couldn't wear certain things?
Well, understand. It's taken me this long to understand. Now, in our language, we call a roach wapesha. The warriors wear that. Now, I've really changed my style. I've kind of kept my one style for the last geez, my son is 22, probably about 20 years now. I've worn a top hat. And I'm going to put it out there like this. I'm not a warrior. I'm not. Um, I've never been to battle. I've never trained for war. And when I look at, I remember the old warriors, dancers like Virgil Chase Sr., um, so many war veterans, people that went to the Korean War, World War II, the Vietnam War, and they made it back. You know, I believe they've earned the right to wear a wapesha. You know, my family history on the range side, it's a bit of a mystery. But having said that, not all tribes were warrior people. But I'm gonna say this: I've always believed that a lot of our people were outlaws. We've had to live an outlaw lifestyle to survive. Our ancestors paid the ultimate price for us to get here, not necessarily being a warrior, but an outlaw. They didn't live according to the laws that were written by men not of this land. So my top hat, I'd like to want to believe that my top hat represents that outlaw side of our people, because there was a time where our people, it wasn't common for our people to wear a felt hat, and only those that could afford to wear a felt hat would acquire it, or they would they do the barter and trading. And sometimes our people just took things, and they would take them off a skirmish, a small skirmish, a raid, and a lot of our people wore the felt hats from the raids. So I like to try to. I don't want to sound like I'm being corny or oh ha, but I like to believe that I'm paying homage to the outlaw side of our people.
That's so sweet. I never heard that story before, so that's cool. So when I'm reading stories of the past, and I'm talking with elders about stories from the past, they talked about how the men would do certain things to feel to prove themselves in their tribes, like to prove their bravery, to prove their worth, and their get the respect of the tribe. So they would go and get coup, right? So touching an enemy and then getting back, or stealing horses and bringing them to their tribe. I feel like nowadays, indigenous men, we still want to do that in a way, but times have changed. So what is some advice you could give to young men who want to still, they have that somewhere in their blood memory that they have to do that, but maybe they turn to gangs, or maybe they do something like that because they still feel like a warrior and they want to do things, but they're just not taking the maybe positive routes? Or is there kind of bridges in between our old ways, because it's still in our DNA somewhere, right? To want to be a warrior, to want to have that respect. What is some advice you can give to like getting that nowadays in 2020, right?
Well, right here, that's the answer. Now, I'm going to try to wipe away the excuses that our people have. Um, we're always on a quest for knowledge. We're always on a quest for to know something. Now, there's a great big push on social media, on my radio show, where we actually pushed for people to preserve our languages of all indigenous language, even even globally. A lot of our people, it's a challenge to speak the language, whether it's Cree or Nakota, Lakota, Anishinaabe. It doesn't matter. There's always the desire to want to speak a language. And if we could think about, you were mentioning how do we want to uh, find that warrior spirit in all of us. Well, I had a conversation with a friend of mine. We were talking about having a connection to the land, because when I was mentioning that I'm just a dude that likes to powwow once in a while, I grew up with my feet in the dirt. Me and my brothers, we grew up with our feet in the dirt. We grew up hunting, fishing, gathering. We used to pick berries a lot with my mom. We grew our own food from the garden. If we didn't hunt, we starved. If we didn't work in a garden, we starved. If we didn't pick those berries, we starved. If we didn't work as hard as we did way back when I was just a kid, we starved. That's what it was like back then. Powwows, as I understand, it is a celebration. Now, a lot of people, there's always going to be the common debate about, well, it's commercialized now and it's competition. People are just fighting for popularity, notoriety, and money, and trophies, and jackets, and winning the hearts of people. That's not what it's all about. You know, I like to want to believe that I keep that alive for me. This is something that I teach my two sons, Darren. Big shout out to my son, Darren, who just earned his master's degree in education. And to my young son, Shota, big shout out to him, who's in the University of Mount Royal in Calgary. I've always tried to teach them that this is what our people did. We hunted, we fished, and our ancestors did that so we can be here. So when I dance at a powwow, when my sons participate at a powwow, it's a celebration of those very things. It's a celebration of our connection that's still existent today. If our we got to maintain the connections in order to celebrate. Now, having said all that, my young friend, backing up this conversation, when I said I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a lawyer from Saskatchewan, living in PA now. My friend Robin, we were having this discussion and about connection to the land, and she said, "But I don't have anybody to teach me." Right here, I simply went to Google and I typed in bushcraft. Because everybody has a mobile cellular unit. Everybody has instant access to information. It might not be an old school learning, but it is a way to open the doors. Now, bushcraft, that's all types of skills that a person can acquire online. If not online, you can go to a Chapters bookstore and find books on bushcraft, on survival, wilderness, edibles. There's all kinds of ways that people do not have the privilege of deniability, considering that they have Google, they have whatever search engine that they're using. Anybody can look it up. Anybody can be self-taught. Because I'm gonna tell you what. And again, I can only use myself as an example, and this is not to brag or to say that I'm, again, or anything like that. But my father passed away when I was 9. My brother Donnie was 4 years older than me, so he was 13-ish. So everything that me and my brothers have done in our lives, we've done by maintaining that connection to the land. The land is where our songs come from. The land is where our rituals and our ceremonies come from. If everybody refers to their creation stories, God, creator, whatever you want to call him, I'm not going to get into that whole debate what we call him, but anyway, God, creator, made the world first. He made the actual dirt and all the elements that come with it: fire, wind, water. Then came the plants. After the plants, the animals came. Then the first human being, and in all our creation stories, that human being was taught how to live by the animals. He was like this with the animals. He had a wicked connection with the animals. So by the time so many human beings came, he already had all the laws set for him, given to him by the animals. The animals then departed from the human beings to allow us to live on our own. Now, pausing there, if we took off all our clothes and run buck wild naked, we would never survive the elements. The animals made sacrifices for us to learn the earth. The animals sacrificed for us to maintain, to have a connection to the earth. It was said by our old people that the plants used to have life and used to talk with our old people, giving us the laws of how to respect the land, how to respect the water, how to respect fire. You combine all this knowledge, you can find some of these stories from tribe to tribe and shared through social media. That's not the old way. However, that's a start. And that all our people out there, no matter if they're in urban centers or stuck with no mentors in the reservations, that's a start.
Beautiful. We got a lot of feedback.
So having said that, really quickly, when we take all that knowledge, all that suffering and sacrifice and hardship, and lead that to the victory of our people, that's why we dance. That's why our men have learned to sing. That's why our ladies learn to really garnish the way our men singers sound. That's why we celebrate. That's why it feels really good when we're out there dancing at a POW. Now, it's one thing to be competing at the Gathering of Nations or at Manitowoc Festival and you're dancing in these great big grand arenas, but nothing can take away from that actual connection from the feet on the actual ground dancing at a neighboring community. That's why we celebrate powwows. That's what it is for me. That's why I've been able to maintain. So all this COVID stuff, I'm used to having a connection to the earth. I'm never bored. I go fishing. I go for a walk. I check the animal sign so I know how I'm going to hunt this fall. A lot of my buddies that are out there at powwow country that do hunt, that do fish, I see their posts. They're doing it. And you know, and when I see a buddy like mine, Darwin Goodwill, my nephew Darwin Goodwill, he's fishing a lot and showing his catches. Him and his dad hunt together. That's a historic connection. He's hunting with his dad. He's fishing with his family. That's the reason why he dances so well and the reason why he performs so well.
Oh, I got chills, bro.
You should put on a sweater.
Chills from the good words. A lot of people are tuning in saying so much, like Tina says, so much knowledge in one person. Everybody needs to listen and understand everything that Doug's talking about. So Tina Marie, good words. If you guys see on your screen.
Okay. I appreciate that comment, but that knowledge is not mine. Everything that I'm sharing came from somebody else because I paid attention. The Cree people say Ntotumuk. The Stony people say Noraptat. You know, it doesn't mean listen. It doesn't just mean listen. It means pay attention. That becomes an actual lifestyle if people just Ntotumuk. Not for just that moment when old people are talking, but Ntotumuk when we're watching them clouds come. Ntotumuk when the sun is too hot and we have to keep an eye on the vegetation, because if people pay attention, if people read what the plants leave us, what the animals tell us, they're the actual governors of our societies. They provide the laws. If people had just Ntotumuk. Next question.
For those of you who are liking what Doug is saying, there's you might see that little orange star button on your cell phone and whatever you're watching from, and you could send stars to support this this awesome podcast that we're having, and we could send some of that over to Doug. So if you're liking whatever you're hearing today, hit that star button. It's brand new for Powwow Time, so you might not have seen it before, but it's right there.
what I encourage, if you don't want to press that star button, send money to my email to treat me to the buffet.
So you talked a lot about connection with the land, and I see that you're a hunter and you're a trapper, and I know that by just following your Facebook. So was that learned from your father?
Yes, my dad was a hunter. My dad's dad was a hunter. I come from a line of hunters. That's the history to my family. We're hunters. That's what we did to survive. That's the lifestyle that I've lived all my life. My son Darren has become quite the hunter. I'm gonna stretch it out on a limb, saying that he's equal to my skill now. My young son
Mhm.
has come with me hunting and trapping and fishing. He's not so much a hunter, but he knows how. He saw me do it. He's participated, but to actual hunt, he hasn't gone off on his own. But conversations that we have, he remembers, because again, I tried to put into my sons those very words that I shared with everybody about Ntotumok from my mom's language, Norapdan from my dad's language. Trapping is something it's not understood today. People think it's cruel. There's no money in trapping. When we were just kids, my dad was a trapper to supplement some of our income, because there was a time when trapping was kind of lucrative. But in modern times, there's no need to trap. But I'm going to quickly share why me and my brother Donnie, my brother Dallas, my cousin Dwight, why we all trap. Because we're in a time where modern governments, they want to impose certain rules and restrictions on our lifestyles, on the way that we live, on the way that we're governed. And the way we have to do that is to prove that we do have a connection to the land. And by having a registered trap line, that's just proof for us that we're making use of the land, that we're still practicing what our families for generations have done before us. So it's again, there's no money in trapping. We do it because to maintain a legal connection to the land that's recognized. That way they can't ever say, you don't really have a connection to the land. It's just stories. But really, it's not, because we still hunt, we still fish, we still trap. Next question.
Awesome. So, seeing that the deer are starting to turn a little red now, harvesting time's coming up. Or when do you start your hunting? Do you do it kind of this time, or do you kind of wait for elk season, or you do it year round?
No, I don't do it year round. I've started trying to really be a practitioner of an older way. From what I understand, our people would hunt hard when the animals were big and healthy, during the rut, when the animals are the bulls and the bucks are the most powerful. I've heard a lot of stories from a lot of older men throughout my life that an animal's health is optimum during that time, because they've spent all those seasons training for those moments to have the right to breed. And there they are with their big headgear on, their antlers. I'm not a trophy hunter. I'm looking for the biggest, healthiest specimens that I'm going to feed on for the next upcoming seasons. And the stories, that the information, again, that I've heard throughout my life, was that our people would hunt a lot, and they would make a lot of kipami. Well, our people call it kipami. They would dry that meat and they would crush it up and mix it with fat and berries and store it. And that's what they would live on throughout the winter months, throughout the spring. And we don't hunt in the springtime. There's a couple reasons why I don't hunt in the springtime. One, because of old school teachings. And they used to say that from January to June is a holy time. A lot of female animals are carrying. And because the males drop their antlers this time, we don't know what's a male, what's a female, because the males drop their antlers. And we don't take a female that's carrying, and we don't know what female is carrying. But having said that, we live on that, what we've hunted on. And then there's the smaller game that we live on, the rabbits, the grouse, ducks, geese, fish. And I tried to maintain that up until late August. Again, I like to wait until the animals are at optimum health. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about why I don't hunt in the springtime. Because modern times, because of social media, because of television networks, there's the hunting and fishing networks. There's been a huge increase in mainstream hunters, in First Nation hunters. Animals are being decimated everywhere. Moose numbers are low. Elk numbers in our territories have been compromised. I haven't seen a decent white-tailed buck in my reservation for a few years, and that's I really believe it's all due to over harvesting. At some point, we do have to put something back into conservation. And to me, that's my way of trying to maintain conservation is to really keep an eye on the animals being taken. That's why I don't hunt in the spring or the summer. And I wait for that one season only. So next question.
I always hear like from the old people, the knowledge keepers, the elders about natural laws, and we live under natural laws. Would that be considered part of natural law?
I'm going to change it up.
Okay.
I'm going to say God's law.
God's
I'm
law.
going to give an example. I believe that natural law is misunderstood. This is natural law. You pick up something and drop it, it's going to fall. That's natural law. What we're living by is, again, historic testimony of our old people. What they believed was God's law, according to our creation story, God's law. We're supposed to respect the land. But yet, I'm going to talk about some hard truth here, Patty. You've seen it, you witnessed it. You know, when I go hunting, my late father used to say, we go in quietly and we leave quietly. And that meant a whole lot of things. And growing up, having my older brother being one of my very few mentors, he used to further explain it, meaning if we're going to go to the bush and go hunting, whatever mess we make, we're going to clean it up before we leave. But yet when we go to a big competition powwow come that Monday morning, we know what lays everywhere on the grounds. People disregard the trash cans, and the powwows are supposed to be a celebration of life. Well, having said that, we have to care about the next community's grounds. We have to start thinking about conservation, because come springtime, when all the snow is gone, it's quite common in a lot of First Nation communities to see the trash just littered in the ditches, even on the highways, everywhere. All of this affects our hunting, our fishing, our gathering, our medicines, everything.
Beautiful words, man. Just things to
And
live
I'm going to
by.
tell you something else, but not right now.
Yeah. Actually, I had a what do you call that? One of our viewers had a question here, and I wanted to bring it out. A lot of you're just
Okay,
getting.
I'll answer the question before you even ask it. I like the buffet. I like hair product. I like pampering myself, and I like clean socks. Does that answer the question?
Almost, I think it might. So it says, what inspires you as an Indigenous person to strive towards success? At the same time, what do you feel holds you back, or what do you feel limits you to express yourself as Indigenous through your art? That's a long question, but
What inspires me?
What inspires
You
you?
know, the old, that's a really wordy question, and I'm going to try to answer it. I don't think about inspiration. I don't. I don't think about striving forward, because I'm gonna tell you what, I've learned in a very hard way that time waits for nobody. That nobody is guaranteed time. Not one of us is guaranteed tomorrow. I've um, I've learned that there's only thisness. Just now, here in a moment, me and you, Patty. The package deal, dude. It's just me and you living our best life. You know, I don't think about what inspires me. I just think about the now. I just think about what feels good now. My background before radio, before graphic art, was child and youth care, and I did that for 26 years. And I don't like to think what inspires me. I like to think about what can I appreciate more. There's always somebody on Facebook who appears antagonistic. There's always going to be that group of people that go overboard. They don't celebrate Christmas because of this and that. They don't celebrate Valentine's Day because of this and that. They don't celebrate Aboriginal Day, Indigenous Peoples Day, because I do this every day. You know what, Patrick? That's very good. I have been blessed to have had that all my life. So when I think about my career as a child and youth care worker at 26 years, there are hundreds of thousands of kids who have Indigenous kids, our kids in systems that are not ours, who don't have their families, who don't have their relatives, who don't have their languages, who don't have their culture, who don't have wild berries to eat or wild game to eat. They don't have the experience of simply walking in a bush and appreciating nature. They haven't lived that. They've never been taught that. It's very good that a lot of people out there can experience that. But what's their contribution to the greater good to hundreds of thousands of kids who don't have this? Again, it's not about me being inspired. It's about what can I appreciate more.
Beautiful.
That's how I strive forward, because I want to give my kids the chance to do that on their own after I'm just plain old dust, after I'm just a memory in a picture, after I'm just a video on social media. I want my sons to have their feet in the dirt. I want my sons to have their feet in the dirt and to appreciate that I had a part in my grandkids having their feet in the dirt. Because I'm going to tell you what, for all those people that are antagonistic and privileged because they've had this way of life, good. But what about all our people and all our relatives who've never had a freaking chance? I hope that answers the question. I feel much better now.
Got a lot of people saying that's powerful, inspiring.
That's not powerful. That's from our old people, though. You know, maybe that feels powerful. But again, I'm going to have to refer back to Ntotomok. Pay attention. Everybody's got to pay attention. For all of us blessed people that have been privileged of being learned, by learning things, by reading, by becoming more educated, by becoming very highly intellectual, intelligent beings. What about living in thisness, knowing that there's some kid out there starving at a powwow, that their own community of powwow is the only powwow they're going to be able to see, because powwows have become for an exclusive bunch, and that exclusive bunch is the people that have the ability to travel.
I like responding to you because then it opens up some more truth
It's all
bombs
about
and stuff
sharing
like
that.
that.
It's about sharing that connection. We can't just act good. We're beyond beads and feathers. Our powers go deeper than just beads and feathers and song and dance. It's about that connection. When we went to New Orleans with Northern Cree, you and I, we went with Northern Cree to New Orleans last year. At an awful, miserable time in my life. Having the unfortunate losses in my life, my late wife and my baby and my dog, I lost an entire household all at once. I struggled to try and keep that connection for myself. But because I've learned to keep that connection with the land, that land helped me to appreciate the connection through powwow. Because I shared a connection with Steve Wood, he allowed me to sing at his drum. The connection from the land, growing up, learning about song and dance, continuing through song with Steve Wood, took me and you to New Orleans. Upon returning home to this empty house, it didn't feel so empty because of that connection that Steve shared with me. He didn't say too much about anything on the trip. He just showed me that it's okay to have a good time, regardless of what's happening in my life. So when I'm thinking about all the kids out there who's had it worse off than I ever could, that connection helps me appreciate what I have. I don't have much, but it's mine.
Are you talking about like that connection?
Keep timing out like this. Okay,
Just to give you the screen, yeah, just to give you the screen. Let's talk about that connection a little bit because I feel like a lot of youth out there are struggling, and a lot of people, like you said, who are in these systems that are not ours, and they feel lost, but they don't know why they feel lost. How do you get that connection? And I know you said something like your cell phone is part of getting connected back to your roots and stuff like that, but what are some like things that some people could put in their pocket right now that might be struggling right now? And like for you, you've been through a lot, and I watched you when we were in New Orleans, and to see you still smile, and for you and I to laugh together, and for us to go hang out, and I seen that there was strength in you still, and I see it more today right now, even though it's through the screen. But you talked about that connection, and maybe people don't know how to get to that, and maybe you could help a few people that are asking, like Miles Paul says, Dougie, can you give me some advice on being sober and maintaining a sober lifestyle, right? That's someone who might be struggling, and how do we get them back to that connection?
The question is, why struggle with it? We have to understand everything that we all do in life is pure choice. Nobody likes to be told. You know, you go on social media, you give your opinion, everybody's hammering at you. I'm going to say it like this. It's just pure, simple choice. What do you want out of life? I want to be happy. You know what? I am a happy guy. Even in my most miserable times, I was a happy guy. I got to appreciate what I had. Once again, I'm going to back it up to there. From being a child and youth care worker of 26 years, I've seen and read cases of kids that went through the most god-awful abuses, that have just absolutely no chance to maintain a type of connection because they haven't had the mentorship from their own families, from their own communities, from their own leadership. I'm going to go ahead and say that because sometimes we need to talk about the hard things. The only way to fix a problem is to acknowledge that there is a problem. You know, one of the biggest problems that nobody wants to admit that whatever is happening is by choice. Addiction is, to me, it's not a disease. It's the end result of so many different behaviors. It's a result of so many habit things that turned into a spiraling downward thing that's just not good for any of us. We have to remember our history. Once again, I'm going to back it all the way up to your creation stories about where we come from, why we dance, why we sing, why we celebrate at a powwow, why we go to a ceremony, why we go to get prayed for. I don't go get prayed for to have some kind of divine miracle where the spirits are going to come down and heal me, because that's not how it happens. How you pray is how you're supposed to live till the next time you have a rough time. What are you going to sacrifice for your greater good? These are questions everybody has to ask themselves. Because I tell you what, while we are privileged, because many of us are, I know how to make cash cleanly. I work several jobs. I make my money. I save my money. I pay for a nice vehicle. I'm able to travel to a powwow. I'm going to appreciate that I can do that, that I'm modeling a role. I'm not a role model. I'm simply modeling a role for my sons to follow. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to go and say, I'm a role model, I'm this and that. No, I'm going to just say I'm modeling the best role that I can for my sons, because I want them to appreciate what they have, which is a lot more than, again, hundreds of thousands of kids. So when we're looking at our modern day people who do have the ability to travel, who do have the ability to sing, dance, participate in ceremonies, because they have a lot more than, again, hundreds of thousands of kids who don't. If we don't start appreciating that about ourselves, it's no wonder why people struggle with addiction. It's no wonder why people struggle with self-esteem stuff, identity crises. What did the Cree people used to do back in the day to maintain identity? They didn't. They just lived. They lived thisness. For them, that was back then. They lived because they loved their families. They performed everything that they did with such passion and strength, because if they didn't, somebody died. If they didn't hunt hard, somebody died. They paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we could be here. They went through the toughest of elements, living in little teepees and little tiny shelters. We're spoiled with our modern conveniences and our houses and our Pendleton blankets. At one time, our people used to live in lodges made out of skins and sticks. They didn't have to worry about maintaining sobriety. They had life to maintain. I love my brother Miles Paul. Everybody has a struggle. But what do you want for your young people to remember? Miles Paul, Chubby Chicken, the guy who had such a passion for dancing at a powwow. That guy shines when he's on that dance floor. That guy has thisness when he's on that dance floor. Let's share that thisness with a bunch of kids who have nothing. How can we do that if we're going to fall into our own habits? We don't have to party. We don't have to indulge. The old people used to say hard times are coming, but getting to this far in my life, I'm not an old man, but getting to this point in my life, I've come to understand that hard times have always been here. They've always given us the tools to deal with it. It's by our own fault. And I'm going to say our because we're in this together. Not one of us is perfect. We're all in this together. We all share that same connection. When we hear Northern Cree on Facebook, in YouTube, on the radio, at a powwow, that same beat, that same song, sung by the same people, was sung somewhere else where the different people dance to it, connects us all. How do we get lost because of the choices that we make? The answers are within you, my friend, Miles, Mr. Chubby Chicken. You have the answers. I'm no guru. I'm not a wise man. I'm not even a humble man. I'm just me. The words I share come from somewhere else, from older people that have lived a lot longer than I. That's something that I appreciate. That's one of the many, many things that I try to appreciate, because you know what? Because like I said, kids everywhere else, they don't even have that. Next question.
I hear you bring up the word.
Time out on me.
I hear you bring up the word thisness, or being in the
Thisness.
now. Yeah. Can you explain that a little bit to our viewers, what that means, if they don't understand
Okay.
what that means for them?
Last year, you witnessed it. You saw me go through the roughest times on Facebook. I would type about it. I would express it. That was me in that moment of thisness. I've always lived in the moment of whatever it was going to be. If I was happy, I was going to be a happy mofo. I was going to be the happiest mofo ever in that moment. If I was a miserable mofo, I'm going to be that, it's all a process. What made me miserable? I have to examine it. I have to feel it. In order for me to get forward, I need to be kind of done with whatever it is I'm feeling. So whenever I'm in my happy moment of thisness, I'm going to celebrate it and try to appreciate every little darn thing that I have. Even this blue lighter, this bottle of water, my mobile cellular unit, my tactical wallet that can't be scanned by stealers of identity. I'm going to appreciate all those little things. I'm going to appreciate the simple things. Thisness is just living in the moment, acknowledging it, feeling it, being human. I'm not Superman. I'm not anything great. I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude that's learned to, I don't know, just channel my energy to whatever this is. I don't even understand it. I'm learning just as much as you guys are. There are days I'm clueless, and it's okay to be clueless. But at some point, I'm going to pick myself up and say, okay, it's enough being clueless. I'm going to try and have a clue.
Awesome. Crazy awesome. Miles Paul says, thanks, Doug. Love and respect. That hit me deep, bro. Hi. I'll be sober 1 year on July 16th, and I really needed to hear that. So some of the feedback that we're getting from our viewers. Miles, Chubby Chicken, what's up? Hopefully all is good on your end. And so when you're talking about thisness, kind of what I was getting was like when you're feeling something, to like feel it all the way through, right?
All the way through.
All the way through. So you're feeling angry, be angry. If you're feeling happy, be happy. And that's some awesome words. We got some questions that we pre-written down, and I know some of it. Yeah.
I like questions.
And we're gonna go on to our Mr. Jiao here. So Jiao Rogan's in the house, and he's gonna be asking some questions. So we'll start from the top.
So, question number books you've been given most as a gift, and why? You've given most as a gift.
Given or recommended. What books have you given or recommended the most to other people to help them on their journeys?
Two books only. I'll be
And
right
those
back.
names are?
Don't move. I'm gonna grab one of those books.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna be waiting for Doug. Thank you guys for all the stars that you sent as well while he's getting his books. If you guys want to support this episode and support Power Times, you can hit that orange yellowish star button on your cell phone, and you could be sending stars. So thank you for everyone that supported. All right, we got Doug back, and he's gonna show one of his books that he gifted or recommended the most to other people.
Okay. First book is called Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. Why? Because it's a book about humanity. Now, not everybody has the same style of learning. I got to admit, for a lot of our modern day people, First Nation people living a modern lifestyle, trying to return to the grassroots of our people is an enigma. It's a mystery and so misunderstood. And sometimes they need a different way to learn things. So I suggest the book Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. It's about humanity. Because I'm gonna tell you what, modern day times when thinking about every issue and struggle that our own people are going through, it's really a question of humanity. To understand what that means, I believe this book would help people rediscover that there's adventure in spirit. So I think it's a must read for everybody. It's entertaining as well as enlightening. You know, when I was in college for child and youth care, way back in Calgary, back in the day, it was suggested reading, and I've actually suggested this here book to Patty. It's called Maturity: The Responsibility of Being Oneself, from the author Osho. Insights for a New Way of Living. Now, this book completely changed my entire life. It changed my entire being. To understand what I was getting myself into and working with children. You know, I actually thought that when I first got into the program, I was going to be like a camp counselor at a summer camp and have some fun with some kids. When I actually started getting deeper into the course, I come to discover that there were hundreds of thousands of children, youth, adolescents, and babies that suffer issues of neglect, of abuse, of so many horrible things. I needed to understand myself better. I came soon to discover I was getting into child and youth care. You know, I thought I was being noble. I wanted to go out and make a difference. But really, subconsciously, I was wanting to feel better about myself. And once getting into deeper about what child and youth care is, again, it's a big, heavy reminder of what little I have, what little I can appreciate about my own life. That I have a warm place to live, that I got food in my fridge, that I still have family, that I still have connection to the earth, that there are hundreds of thousands of kids out there who don't. In order for me to channel the little that I have to appreciate about myself, I needed to understand myself better. Because before I could actually start working with children, I needed to understand that I was going in with a ton of baggage myself. I had my own self-esteem issues. I had my own identity issues. And it's a reality that a lot of our people don't talk about. It's just a lot of taboo stuff. We don't talk about the animosity between our people. We got to be humble. But you know what? Our people are getting our asses handed to us because we're not acknowledging a lot of this stuff. A lot of the tribal division, a lot of division between our people because of language, a lot of division between our people because of politics, because of ceremony. But don't follow that person, or don't follow this person. This stuff isn't talked about. It's really damaging on the self-esteem and identity. I'm of mixed tribe. My mom was Cree. My dad was Nakota, Stony. I've heard relatives say not so nice things about my mom in the Stony language. I've heard my relatives say things in the Cree language, not so nice things about my dad. These are realities that all these little kids in the child and youth care area, they're facing those exact same issues for millennia. Since residential schools, since even before then, since when our great-great-great-grandfathers used to steal wives from the neighboring tribes. It's a reality that our people don't talk about. Of course, we're not going to be connected if we don't understand that. Big shout out to Robin Cree, who's brand new lawyer. She's a lawyer, and she read this book because I suggested it. She did. She chose to. The same way Miles can choose to. The same way a lot of people can just simply choose to. You need to, everybody needs to understand. Again, I had to understand I had a lot of baggage. You know what? I still have a lot of baggage. I do. I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. I'm still finding my way. I'm still making connections. I'm still finding life. And man, I'm going to tell you what, I'm on an adventure of spirit right now, maintaining connections and making new connections.
That book was awesome. So thank you for recommending it to me.
Next question. You had another question?
Yeah, we have a list of questions here. So hopefully you have some time to kind of hang out for a while. Yeah.
I'll try to help you.
So let's go with number 6. So we're gonna kind of mix up the question. So what is an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love?
Are you serious? I like baby critters. You know, I have bunnies all over my yard. I love watching the bunny. You know, I have a thing for puppies. I have a thing for kittens. I have a thing for baby birds. I have a thing for babies, critters, little baby critters. You know what? I eat critters. I'm a hunter. I love a baby fawn. I've seen several in my life. Baby fawns as tiny as this book with little tiny hooves as big as my pinky finger. But come the season, that's weird.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I collect homies. I have homies. That's unusual. Do you want to see my collection of homies?
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see.
I'll be right back. Don't go away.
All right. Thank you, Ivira Adams Mayette, for sending 200 stars. That's awesome. Thank you so much for the support. Just kind of a little commercial break as he goes and grabs his homies. So if you guys are liking everything that you're hearing today with Doug, make sure you like and share this post so other people could tune in as well and hear some of the great words that Doug is saying here. So Doug's one of my brothers, so it's good to have him here. So he's going to be showing some of his collection here. Right on.
I don't know if you can see this guy, but I have this whole selection of homies. They're called homies from the you know, like from the movies, Vatos Locos Forever. These are homies. I have homies. I collect these little guys. I have tons of them. You know, I was always attracted to the music, the hair, the dressing style of people of American Mexican descent. Just so much. Homies, little guy in a chair. I got a rapper dude homie. I even have some muscled up dude in a tank top and khakis. I have a chola here. There she is. She's a chola. She's hollering out. I got this dude that's laughing. I got, look at this, even a wedding couple, a homie style couple. I collect homies, so that's unusual, right? I suppose it's unusual. That's the kid in me.
That's so
At
awesome.
my age, there's still a kid in me. But I saw a question: how many top hats do I own? One.
Mm-hmm.
One top hat, and it stinks. It just smells like powwow and sweat.
Where does someone get homies? That's the very first time I've ever seen that, I think.
You know, seriously, I first discovered homies way back in the late 90s. I found them in a vending machine at Walmart.
Oh yeah.
This isn't a Walmart, but you know what? Nobody, look at this. I've been collecting homies since, I don't know if you could see that, 2002. Got a graduate from 2002 homie. I got a fly girl homie. I got Joker homies.
Nice.
I got big old muscle homie. I got a cheerleader chola. I got homies. Look at, who's that remind you of, Patty? Who's that remind you of?
Oh yeah, that's when you're wearing your beanie. That's right.
Check this out. I even got a pedal.
Nice. Looks like there's
one
a
hat.
some.
I have one top hat, and I'm gonna wear it to till it's just not even a hat anymore.
That's awesome. All right, we're gonna move on to the next question here. That was an awesome response to that question. So here we go with question number 3.
So where is it? Question number. Oh, yeah. Okay. What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months?
So he's gonna plug in. Did you hear that question, Doug?
What?
Nice and loud.
What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months?
Dude, I ain't spent $100 in the last 6 months. Well, actually, I had to plug in. Battery's dying.
Okay, no worries.
That's a really tough question, dude. $100. If I say what I spent $100 on, then it's not so special. It's not, and sometimes just like to I don't know. Some things are just better off kept a secret.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
No worries. All right.
And you know what? I'm just gonna say it, and it's not. Again, I don't want to appear like I'm bragging, but I've spent $100 on I provided socks and just some under t-shirt garments for some people that didn't have any. Best $100 ever spent.
Nice.
Next
So
question.
that idea of giving, which is so awesome. All right, trying to find something that will challenge you a little bit is, so when Doug Rain is feeling overwhelmed or unfocused, or you feel like you lost focus temporarily, what do you do?
Say that again.
So when Dougie Rain is feeling overwhelmed or unfocused, maybe you don't feel that, right? Or you have lost your focus temporarily, what do you do to get back into to I don't know how you'd say it, get back to you if you ever feel overwhelmed or unfocused.
If I'm feeling overwhelmed, I try to slow it down and just feel whelmed. No.
Nice.
um, again, it's all about feeling whatever it is I'm feeling at that moment. If I don't acknowledge it, I'm always going to have that bad taste in my mouth of a bad vibe. You know what I mean? I try not to overanalyze myself. That's one of the worst things that people do is they try to overanalyze what it is they're thinking or they're feeling, and next thing you know, they're sending their own brains into this cycle of panic. You got to stop the panic. You know what? I'm ADHD, and I escalate and I de-escalate and I escalate and I de-escalate. I'm all over the place. It's never the same for me. There's never the same type of strategy to deal with myself. Sometimes I just need to scream. Sometimes I need to throw somebody in a ditch. Sometimes I need to throw a tantrum. Sometimes I need to celebrate my birthday. Sometimes I need to eat. Sometimes I shouldn't eat and just drink water. Sometimes I smoke a cigarette. It's never the same thing. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, it depends on the situation and if it's something traumatic. Well, you know what? I'm best off doing it all by myself. God, that's really a tough question to answer because there's not a specific answer to a specific situation. It's always going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Taekwondo. You know what? Taekwondo. Whenever I was feeling crappy, I'm going to say this. Cageman, Grandmaster Cageman, Taekwondo, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Cageman. Just being there. My masters, Amanda Min Rigo and my master, Jenny Min Pro, man, they are ladies that are wise beyond their years. It's like I can just sit with them for a little bit and I'm calm. Sometimes that's all I need is just to see them. Again, it's never the same strategy for whatever escalation I'm going into.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right. So we kind of creeped on your social media, on your Facebook, and we took a few pictures that might not tell the whole story. And so we're going to show these pictures and we want to get the background story of what was going on. So here's picture number 1, if you could see. And maybe you could kind of tell the story of what's going on here and give people kind of the context of this picture, what's happening here.
Okay. Everybody knows the infamous Bert Crowfoot, the CEO of the Windspeaker Radio Network. We were doing a photo shoot, and we were trying to get the lights just right. We were getting ready, and he said, "Jump in there," and I said, "Take my picture." And so I posed, and I like to ham it up. I've always been a very expressive guy, and I was just being a ham. That's all. I was being sweet Dougie Love.
Sweet Dougie Love. Sweet Dougie Love in the house.
Fun, just hamming.
Nice. All right, we're gonna go on to the next picture and tell us the kind of background story of what's going on here.
Nervous?
No, this will be all right. So,
whoa, that was taken by a famous yoga lady, Kate Herrera Jenkins, way down in. You were there at the Jazz and Heritage Festival, New Orleans, Louisiana. Northern Cree was singing. It was my turn to shine. I did my little spiel. She took that picture, and I saw her with her really cool looking camera. So I approached her and I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but I noticed that you took my photograph. May I please have a copy of that there photograph?" And so she sent it to me.
Nice.
I liked it so much, I had to share it. I had to share it. You were there. You were part of that picture.
Yeah. We got one more from New Orleans because I was just kind of focusing, but there was something that happened in New Orleans that might need a little more explanation of what's going on. So I'm going to show that right here, and you could just tell us what's going on here.
Oh my God. I was throwing a tantrum, and Rusty Gillette, famous arena director guy, champion grass dancer, all around great guy. He's a graphic artist himself. He was restraining me because I was throwing a tantrum. It was like all of a sudden I came to the realization we were done all our shows. So before I could harm myself, he threw me in a restraint.
That's awesome. We printed out two more pictures. We printed out two more pictures, and we kind of just want to get the backstory of what's going on. So we're gonna show this one on camera, and hopefully you can get it, see what's going on there. Could you see that picture?
We went hunting with Bert Crowfoot. There was me, my brother Donnie, my cousin Dwight. There was a whole bunch of us. We went hunting, and Bert, that's Bert's rifle that I'm holding, and he was telling us about this gun, and I wanted to fire that gun, so we set up a target, and I laid in the grass, and I tell you, when I fired his rifle, very little recoil. He loads his own ammunition, and he loads with the best powder and uses the best projectiles. And that was just shortly after I took the shot. I turned around and I remember saying, "I love this gun. I want it." And I saw Bert putting up his camera, so naturally I had to pose. I had to pose. I hope everybody really appreciates what they're seeing.
Nice. All right, we got one last one that just needs a little bit of backstory. So here it is.
Oh! Okay, I'm wearing a Batman mask. Okay, I'm gonna explain this.
All right.
My young son is quite the introvert himself. I've done different things through my experience as a child youth care worker to try and help him through some of his own social anxieties. And I created Batman. That was just me in my powwow outfit wearing a Batman mask. And I created a Batman persona because Batman was taken, okay? There's already a Batman character, so I was going to be Batman. See, Batman's a hero, but as Batman, mentoring my young son, I convinced my son, we're not heroes. We run away from danger and shit, okay? So I created Batman. And so after watching the movie Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, I was feeling the movie. I was feeling very mischievous, and I thought this was an excellent way to start a business for myself. I'm going to remove tattoos with that there doohickey I'm sharpening up.
Nice. Let's talk about a little bit of Batman. I know you sell T-shirts and you have some things. Where could people get some Batman merchandise?
Well, actually, I haven't done it for a little spell. Just different things going on. The economy has changed. I usually just hustle them out of the back of my vehicle at whatever powwow or whatever appearance I'm doing. I'm just hustling the shirts. I don't have an online store, and to sell them online is actually pretty expensive for people. That's why I just kind of hustle them out of my vehicle when I'm doing an appearance or I'm at a powwow and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, nice. All right, so almost done with these questions here. I wanted to ask one for sure is how has failure or apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have any favorite failure of yours?
No. Who does? I don't fail. Why do I want to imprint that on my fields? Now, again, as a child youth care worker, I've personally tried to develop different ways of handling self-esteem. So if I'm going to make a mistake, I can acknowledge a mistake. If something doesn't go my way as a result of me not doing my absolute best, that's not a failure. I would never admit to, I'm a failure. I failed. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I need to go to ceremony and heal. I'm not going to do all that, Patrick. So, you know what? If my end result is a result of my own performance lacking, I'm going to simply acknowledge that and move on. But failures, I wouldn't say I have failures. I'm going to go ahead and say, Darren, Shota, I haven't always been the best father. And I apologize. In the last year and a half, I haven't been the best dad. Been kind of stewing around my own stuff. But I haven't given up. I haven't fallen to my knees, sons. I'm still here and I'm still trying. Not my favorite failure, but it is something where I was lacking that I will acknowledge in front of everybody because I believe that's what my sons need. Okay.
Nice. I want to ask something a little more
Okay.
selfish to me of what you just said. Kind of what in your mind is fatherhood? The connection.
Connection.
Mm-hmm.
I've never. I spoil my sons. I do. I bought them stuff. When I was 9 years old and we lost our dad, our reality was that when he passed away, with my own eyes, I witnessed him telling my mother, she doesn't ever have to worry that he's going to look after her. But he died. He passed away 38 years old of a massive heart attack while he was dancing in a powwow. He left my mom with a pile of bills, a vehicle, and a .22 caliber rifle. I was never going to do that to my sons, so I've spoiled them. And I didn't buy them Xboxes and Gucci watches. I've got them all kinds of hunting gear. I've tried to outfit them for the outdoors as best as I could. I've exposed them to my many travels to powwows. I've given them countless powwow experiences. I've spoiled them that way. I've tried to share my entire world and being with them in such a short time because my time with my dad was incredibly short. I've done all of this to send them off on their own, like being initiated at a powwow when you take a beginner dancer and for the first time you let them go to dance off on their own on that dance floor. That's what I've done with my sons, was connecting with the outdoors, with hunting and fishing and trapping and powwows, ceremony, maintaining that connection and by admitting to them just moments ago that I haven't been the best father. And I'm admitting to them that I haven't been the best father so that we could make our relationship even more awesome than it already is.
Thanks for the honesty there. One thing might be a little deep question. Uh, you talked about loss. You talked about losing your family, and you talked about just now about your dad. Um, I know a lot of people struggle to get past. Not, I don't know if that's the right word. To when they have loss in their life, how do they maintain themselves and find themselves after that? And it comes back to that connection.
It's always going to come back to that, my young friend. Again, life is bigger than us. When we're dancing at a powwow, I'm going to admit, I don't dance for the people. I don't dance for the sick. I don't dance for the ones that aren't able to dance because of my appreciation for life. God, our Creator, gave me this life. He gave me these feet. He gave me this vessel that I carry from day to day. Whether I'm successful on a hunt or not, I always get something from my travel to the bush. Sometimes it's witnessing life itself, the grass growing, seeing the water still there, seeing that there's still animals out there. I bring that to Powell because I'm celebrating that, because God gave me all of that. God gave me the understanding of life and death. Death is a part of life. Death is inevitable. To get through grief, we need to understand we came from our ancestors. Our ancestors came from a time where they didn't have social media to help them grieve. They didn't come from a time where they had books to help them grieve. I've heard a lot of people throughout my life that they didn't get to have wake services. Sometimes they just buried their relatives on the spot and continued. Their children, their grandchildren, their community members, they all had each other to depend on to survive. They didn't have time to cry for 4 years. You have to mourn for 4 years. They didn't have time. I didn't have time to mourn for 4 years because it's like I said, I've come to a screeching halt to understand that nobody is guaranteed time. I'm not guaranteed 4 years to grieve. I could die tomorrow. I could die in my sleep tonight. Do I want to die a miserable man? Of course not. I want to go out kicking, screaming, singing my song that I've lived the best that I can, that I lived my best life, whether your wife liked it or not. Do you remember that?
For those of you guys that don't know, there's a little backstory about that, but we might have to save that for another time here. Some great words, brother. Couple more questions, okay, and then we'll see where this goes here.
Absolutely. I got all night.
If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, getting the message out to millions or billions, what would it say? It could be a few words or a paragraph.
The billboard would be the color teal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all.
Any reason or any story behind that?
I think art is interpretive, however it makes you feel. But having said that, because I've shared that, it's going to leave everybody to wonder. Obviously, that color, he feels good about it. And there is no better story than that.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So there was a lot of youth who graduated this year, and a lot of them that didn't get to experience a graduation or anything like that. But I got this. What advice would you give to a smart, driven college student about to enter the real world, and what advice should they ignore?
Ignore every shred of advice, even mine.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy your experiences. Let your experiences fill your soul. When I graduated high school way back and went off to my own experiences, I was often posed with the question, do I wish my dad was there to see my graduation? No. Because if he was alive, my life's experiences to date would have been different. And I have come to appreciate every little life experience that I have. I love you too, Chris. I come to experience, enjoy the experience I've had on a power trail as a hunter, as a fisherman, as a son. I love my ma wholeheartedly. I've come to appreciate my role as a brother, as an uncle, as a grandfather, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a new acquaintance, as a continuing connecting person. All those things filled my soul over time. I've done so without following the advice of people. I know people mean well, but I don't give people advice. I share information. I share my own experiences. I try to use myself as an example of both good and bad. I'm not a perfect man. I'm flawed. At the same time, I've always done my best to give my sons adventures. I've done my best to provide a good example of adventure by showing them my crazy pictures on social media, by telling them funny stories of when I was a powwow snag and failure. You know, I never had any game. I'm not the coolest guy in the world. I'm not the brightest crayon in a box. And I'm just me. And my sons accept that about me. And that could make me happier. And nothing is going to make anybody else happier than their own experiences and liking their own experiences. Because I tell you what, it's really easy. It's really freaking easy to be critical. But how people would sacrifice and give of themselves to people who have nothing makes people the ultimate tough guy that could be admired. Takes a tough guy to do that. I'm not a tough guy, but I've seen absolute tough guys that were able to do that as a child and youth care worker. Fill your own soul.
And you talk about being a child youth care worker, and you're also in radio, man. You do a lot of things. What are some bad recommendations you hear in your profession or the area of expertise?
Can you elaborate?
Maybe some things you see that people are doing within that profession that you would change, or you would say maybe that's not some good things that they're doing in that specific area that you're an expert at, or you have more experience at, or things you've been in for a long time. You know what I mean?
All I'm gonna say is stay woke. Because I'm gonna tell you why. I was a child youth care worker of 26 years because I was good at it. I'm gonna go out and live. I'm not blowing my own horn, and I'm not, again. I don't do that to make myself seem I'm excellent with children. I can connect with many kids on many different levels in different capacities. I did my job the absolute best that I could because I knew these kids didn't have anything. At the same time, inadvertently, I had become a part of the assimilation process. I was working for agencies that weren't of our own people. I was working for systems that weren't of our own people. I looked after kids so well by having excellent meals prepared, by keeping a very clean home for them, by providing the absolute best in safety and security. I was on the job. I was on the ball. I did my job so well that these kids didn't want to go home to their home communities. Because at the end of it all, where do they go with the equivalent in such care and security, with warm meals to eat? Sometimes, not sometimes, 100% of the times when kids are leaving the care of mainstream society, group care homes, they're going home to a shitty community with not so ideal circumstances, and they're starting from scratch with not 3 square meals a day, or 100% heat in a home, or good quality mentorship. Stay woke.
Stay woke, stay woke. Beautiful words. I think Chris Scribe, brother, he shouted you out saying the epitome of my brother Dougie. Stay woke hashtag. Um, something that something that came to mind while you were speaking is, when we are as young people and they say, education is your buffalo, and I know education could be in a number of forms, like on the land and all that, but when we get pushed to university and get degrees and we go into this workforce and systems that are not ours, is there any advice you can give to people who want to make sure they have a balance of living in these two worlds, this indigenous way of thinking, this indigenous staying connected to our culture and our language, and then this other world of capitalism and getting a job and trying to climb up this ladder? How can we balance that where I don't even know how to put it into words, right? But if you can kind of get what I'm saying, all our young people are going this route of, trying to be into the system, getting their degrees, going to the workforce. But how do they balance that to stay indigenous and learn our culture, learn our language, learn our ways?
Don't get cocky. Simple as that. Don't get cocky. I don't have a degree, but I'm woke. I'm as informed as a dude can be. Cockiness fills our ego. Our ego could mislead us. If a person is not woke, man, then we're risking being an antagonist to our own people. Having said that, there's no purpose for the antagonist. None. That's about all I can say, my friend. I'm very proud that my big boy got his master's degree. And I hope that he uses his head. He's a bright guy. He's a very intelligent guy. He's way more humble than I am. I'm very proud of him. I hope he stays woke. He's got an excellent family. I'm very proud of my daughter-in-law. They're excellent together. He wouldn't have gotten that far if he was cocky. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He likes the gym. He's martial artist himself. He's a hunter. And what I love about my big boy is that he's not cocky. He hasn't become the expert Indian. He hasn't become knowing more than me because he's got a master's degree and I don't. When people become overly expert, there's no chance for connection because we start to put ourselves on pedestals. And I'm going to always say we because, again, we're all in this together. Doesn't matter what level we're at, we're all in it together. Our survival for the next generation depends on what we do now. And the only way we do it is together.
Beautiful. What does it mean to be woke in Doug's philosophy? What would that mean for you, so people can understand that if they don't understand what it means to be woke, to stay woke?
Again, I'm going to have to use myself as an example. I've been with the same Taekwondo dojang for a very long time, since my masters were just very, very young themselves, and now they're masters and they've got families and businesses of their own. You know, I haven't become an expert in martial arts. I'm not the best. You know, my grandmaster Min candidly said that when we have a black belt, that means now we're ready to learn. When I said that, I knew Paul was very different when I was a kid. We never used to wear feathers. We never used to be all painted up. We had to earn our way. When I don't normally talk about these things, but because I'm providing an example, when we got prayed for so that we could wear feathers because we were becoming young adults, that didn't mean we were champion dancers. Having my own bustle basically meant I was ready to learn. And again, it wasn't until I was a young adult when I got my bustle. You know, comparing that to black belt. I'm second Dan black belt now. It means 2 times a black belt. I still feel like there's so much more in the world of martial arts to learn. In the world of powwow, I'm waiting for my hair to go gray or to maybe lose all my hair to get to the next level of learning. So my son being where he's at with his master's degree, it just means that he's gotten to another level of learning. For me, being woke is simply that I'm ready to learn. I'm woke. I'm willing to learn.
So it's kind of like, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, and to keep your cup empty so you can let that knowledge come in, which is awesome. I cut myself out there. Doug, I don't know. This is probably one of our best podcasts. Not to throw any disrespect to anyone else that we had on, but you've been dropping some really good words and a lot of really good feedback from all the people who are tuned in. So I want to say thanks to I'll just throw a thank you real quick here. There's people who stayed in the whole time, and we've been on here for almost 2 hours long. So I think we're gonna come closely to bring this in for a landing, and we might have to have you back so you could spit some more knowledge to everybody. But is there any last thing?
I don't have any. You
Exactly.
weren't listening. You weren't paying attention.
I know. I said that wrong. Words that were passed down through you, right? Some things that you were used as a tool here, as a method to pass down knowledge that was passed on to you. Words from our ancestors who were passed down from them, which is awesome. Is there any last things you would like to leave with everybody here today? You know, they've been on here a long time, hearing all your stories and the things that you've learned along the way. Anything you want to leave with them at this beautiful Thursday night?
Be ruthless. Be absolutely ruthless. There's nothing wrong with being ruthless. We all need to be relentless in our pursuit of something greater, bigger, stronger, and smarter than us.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Well, my friend, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to have you here. You're a brother of mine. I love you a lot, Sagitin. And
so how come you don't call me?
This was the call, right? We caught up in 2 hours long of talking.
High and dry. What kind of person are you, Patrick? What kind of world are you living in, Patrick?
We actually had Marlon comment the package deal or something like that is on Pat and Doug. So if anyone who is listening, you want to bring out the package deal to your community for us to come on out, that's me and Doug. We'll come on out.
Deal meaning Patrick, not me. I'm gonna go lay in the ditch. I'm gonna take off my shirt and my shoes, and it's raining outside. I'm gonna go lay in the ditch. Wait for the kites to scatter my bones.
Oh man, we're getting a lot of thank yous. Rick Dana says thank you, Dougie. Andrew McLeod, thank you for all your words. We also have Tina Marie says thank you as well. A lot of good stuff.
I know my last name.
Robin, congratulations on becoming a lawyer. She says, I've been waiting some time for my bro Dougie to be able to share all his goodness. What a gift we got tonight. Thank you for hosting this. So awesome. All right, brother. We're gonna bring this in for a landing. Stay on, because I'm gonna shut this off right now, and we'll be on in the background. But just want to say good night to everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been an awesome time with all you guys. Thank you, Power Times family, for liking and sharing and sending the stars. That's the first time we had the stars on, so thank you so much for that. And all right.
Can I say something?
Yeah, say it.
Can I say something?
Say it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already done so, go and find the Heartbeat of Nations on CFWE Facebook page. Click like and invite all your gals and pals to like us too.
Nice. That's right. Go follow Doug. That's where you'll find him. He has an awesome radio show, and you'll be able to listen to him. Are you daily? Are you on daily?
No.
Yeah.
Our times have changed, and I think it's Saturday morning at 9. That's when our new show airs, and then it's replayed twice. It's replayed Monday, I think, and on a Thursday night at 9, I think. Go to the Heartbeat of Nations on CFWE Facebook page.
Okay, I kind of wrote that wrong. So Heartbeat of Nations, C.
On CFWE.
on CFWE on Facebook. So you guys go search that, and you'll find it on Facebook. Give it a like, give it a share, and that's you'll be able to listen
Check out
to
all my
to
pictures.
Doug,
I'm a great photographer.
and check out all Doug's pictures. Right on, brother. And thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight.